Okay, we are recording. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Candidates Forum presented and produced by the League of Women Voters of Northwest Wayne County. This Candidates Forum for the Livonia School Board is being recorded on October 6th, 2020. My name is Paula Bowman, and I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Northwest Wayne County and also the moderator of tonight's forum. The Livonia School District serves the city of Livonia and some neighborhoods in the city of Westland. The Board of Education consists of 7 members who each serve 4-year terms. Voters will choose 4 members of the board at this November's election. There are 6 candidates running. In alphabetical order, they are Madeline Acosta, Tammy Bonifield, Karen Bradford, Daniel Centers, Crystal Frank, and Nicole Hoskins Goudreau. All of the candidates are participating in the forum tonight, though Ms. Hoskins Goudreau may be slightly late in joining us. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. We do not support or oppose any candidate or any party. The League does take positions on issues after careful studies, so sometimes you may see our name attached to an issue that we are advocating or opposing. The League of Women Voters is where hands-on work to safeguard democracy leads to civic improvement. Membership is open to anyone who is at least 16 years old, and you can join through our website, lwvnorthwestwayne.org. The League's main mission is to promote political responsibility through informed and active participation in government. One of the ways we do that is by having forums like this one tonight, but also the League has prepared a nonpartisan voter guide, which can be found online at vote411.org, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the program. Holding a candidates forum by Zoom poses challenges different from an in-person forum. Only League personnel and the candidates are present at tonight's forum, but we did solicit questions from the public in advance so that we could ask them at tonight's forum. Questions were screened for clarity, and any which included personal attacks on a candidate were eliminated. There were actually none, but I have to say that. The views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates and not of the League of Women Voters. And now we're going to get started with the forum. The candidates have agreed to the format for tonight's forum, which is as follows. Each candidate will be allowed a 1-minute opening statement, a 1-minute response to all the questions, and a 1-minute closing statement. The order that candidates speak was determined by a random selection process witnessed by the candidates before the recording of the forum began. We will rotate the order of the candidate who responds first. I do see Nicole is in the waiting room, so that's good. League member Maureen Hughes is our timer tonight. She will be holding up cards so that the candidates know when their time is up. The candidate must stop when the sign appears. Ms. Goudreau, thanks for joining us. We are just starting our opening statements, and we're going to begin with Ms. Bonifield. If you could start by giving us your 1-minute statement.
Sure, I would love to. Hi, my name is Tammy Bonifield, and I'm running for the Livonia School Board of Trustees. I'm currently finishing my 8th year on the board and have truly enjoyed my time. I have been continuously and actively involved with Livonia Public Schools since my 2 children were in the child care program at Jackson Center. I am proud to say that they have graduated from Stevenson High School. I believe that education is the key to every child's future. I believe public education is in the best interest of equal access to all children. I will continue to take these beliefs to the board table, working to provide quality education for all children. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for providing the opportunity for schools to share their views on public education and commitment to Livonia Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Centers?
Thank you. My name is Dan Centers. I've been on the board for about 6.5 years. It's been a really great, rewarding experience. I want to start off by thanking the league for having this event today. As a former classroom teacher, I think I bring a really good perspective to the board. We've had really good several years on the board. From when I started, we really were struggling financially. We had to cut programs. We just had some terrible state cuts in funding. But the last few years, we've done some pretty great things on the board. We've added programs. We've got financial stability. We've renovated all our buildings thanks to the bond work that was approved by our community. So I think things are going really well, and I'd be honored for another term. And I'm excited to talk more this evening about the board and our district.
Thank you. Ms. Frank?
Thanks so much. I'm so honored to be here, and I've been honored to be on the board for the past 4 years and serve as your Livonia trustee. I think it has been a tremendous privilege to do so, and I think I bring a unique perspective to the board. I have 4 children enrolled in Livonia Public Schools. I have a 9th grader, an 11th grader, a 7th grader, and a little 2nd grader. So we span the gamut of schools in Livonia Public Schools, and I think that it is a great asset to the board to have somebody who has experience in the district. I've been a volunteer for over 10 years in the district, as well as a leader in the district with my work on the board, as well as being the PTA president at Webster, as well as I'm the PTA president at Frost this year. So I'm honored to be able to represent the district in a broad spectrum and in a broad group. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Ms. Bradford?
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Karen Bradford, and I'm running for re-election to the school board. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. It gives our community an opportunity to learn about the candidates and hear firsthand some of our thoughts and opinions. I am not a stranger. I've been on the board for 4 years now. I feel I have gained some great experience being on the board. Prior to being these past 4 years, I also have been extremely involved in the school district. I've been a parent of 4 students or 4 children that have all gone through Livonia Public K through 12. My last one just graduated. I've been a volunteer in the schools, being active in the PTAs at many levels, from all the way to preschool to high school. Being a trustee on the school board is a labor of love for me. I am and will continue to be an advocate for all students to work diligently in collaboration with my peers and to keep quality education a top priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Acosta?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Madeline Acosta, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and especially to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. A little bit about me. I have experience as a special education teacher and as a community and homeless liaison for over 10 years. I am currently a long-term substitute teacher with Livonia Public Schools, where I'm serving as a first grade in the trenches with teachers, delivering now in-person instruction. I have 2 sons in the district, one at a local middle school and a local high school. Our family has been volunteering. My husband's a longtime coach in our district, and I believe that with my experiences with Livonia Public Schools as a parent, as a room parent, current PTSA president, and just overall member of this community, that I can be a voice and advocate for parents, educators, and students alike.
Thank you. Ms. Hoskins Goudreau, sorry.
No worries. Thank you so much. And thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event and for being flexible with my schedule tonight. I appreciate it. My motivation for seeking a seat on the school board began with my experience as a parent within the Livonia Public School District. I think this is a really strong district with a lot to offer families. I have observed what I perceive to be some areas of improvement, though, that could make us even stronger and more highly performing as a district. I believe that those areas include continuing our efforts to increase academic rigor, and second, prioritizing an understanding of diversity throughout the district. I believe my personal experience as a parent and my professional experience in researching best practices, policy analysis, experience in collaborative problem solving, and leadership of high-performing teams, as well as strategic planning, will be an asset. Our district has adopted an educational philosophy of meeting the needs of every student, and I want to work toward ensuring that we're meeting those needs.
Thanks. We'll start our questions now. And Ms. Bonifield, we'll start with you. What is motivating you to run for the school board? Do you have an issue you especially care about?
Sorry, you cut out for just a little bit. I got, why am I running for the school board? Could you repeat the question?
Sure, let me repeat it. What is motivating you to run for the school board? Do you have an issue you especially care about?
So my motivation for running for the school board is I am a huge proponent of public education. I believe in public education and what it can do. I think, do I have a goal or a platform? I think just making sure that all the kids are educated. There are so many aspects of what we have to do. If I had to pick a pet project, mine would be working on getting the trades back into the district and on getting a career and technical center, state-of-the-art career and technical center together. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Centers?
Thank you. I'm running for re-election because we are facing some challenges. Obviously, right now we're dealing with COVID. We're having back to school plans that are really challenging for us as a community. But I've been working really hard as well as others in our board and our district, trying to engage, find the right plan for our community while keeping everyone safe, but educating our students. So, you know, there are a lot of things we can work on long-term for our district. This challenge is a big one, and it's going to be with us probably all year. So for me, that's a big motivating factor.
Thank you. Ms. Frank?
Thanks so much. As I said earlier, my interest in Livonia Public Schools is personal. It is not theoretical. I have 4 children and my youngest is in 2nd grade. So I have a long-term interest in the success of Livonia Public Schools. But more than that, I've taken my experience as a parent and applied it to the betterment of the whole district. And I think that that's very important. I'm not just looking from a perspective of my kid's school. I'm looking at it from a perspective of the whole district. Running a district of over 14,000 students and 2,000 staff is a very complex issue, and it takes a lot of resources and a lot of investment and time, and just being able to learn what it is to run a district. And I think that it's very complex in terms of being able to learn. I've been certified by the Michigan Association of School Boards. And I think taking that experience and that knowledge that I have moving forward in these complex times is going to be vitally important to be able to leverage that experience and that knowledge.
Thank you. Ms. Bradford?
Thank you. What motivates me for re-election is, geez, I've enjoyed the last 4 years being on the board a lot, but I feel because I'm a real passionate advocate for kids. I started out as a teacher way back, and I've always been passionate about education and getting kids the proper public education that they need. I would like to see us continue the quality programming that we have in the district in addition to make sure we're still remaining fiscally responsible. I'm so proud of some of the different various programs that we run in this district, from our great general ed program to the ACAT, MACAT, CAPA, MSC programs, culinary programs. We run Young Fives. We have a great special ed department. I just want to make sure that all students, we're meeting the needs of all our students and they're becoming successful.
Thank you. Ms. Acosta?
So I'm motivated to run for the Livonia School Board because serving in the classrooms as a substitute teacher, I've had experiences with students coming up to me personally and saying to their classmates that I am the same color as their mom, and how that's really impactful to them and to me as well. So that is kind of in the background of motivating me to run. I've been serving on PTSAs for a number of years and been involved in the community. So this was a natural progression to my volunteering. And I believe that representation matters, not just in that instance in that classroom, but knowing that I can be a voice for parents and educators as well.
Thank you. Ms. Hoskins-Goudreau?
The motivating factor for me, or the issue that I think is most important, is simply creating a school district that's as strong as it possibly can be. I want to live in a district that's highly performing, and I think that, are there things that I believe will lend itself to becoming a more highly performing district? Certainly, increasing proficiency, prioritizing diverse representation will create a district or enhance the district such that it becomes a district of choice, both as an employer and, as part of the analysis that families are making when they're selecting, a residence to purchase. So my primary issue is just creating a district that's that represents everyone who's a member of the district.
Thank you. Mr. Centers, we'll start our second question with you. Educating kids during a pandemic poses huge challenges. Based on what we know today, October 6th, what do you think students should, let me start this over. Educating kids during a pandemic poses huge challenges. Based on what we know today, October 6th, do you think that students should be in the classroom, be in a hybrid program, or be taught virtually only, and why?
Thank you. So I think ultimately the best system is having options for our families, and that's what we worked really hard to do. Right now we have two options. One is an all virtual option. We've got about 4,200 students or so in that virtual option. They will remain virtual, and they can choose at the semester mark whether they want to change or not. The rest of our students are right now doing a hybrid transition period as of today, but starting next week, they'll be back to school full time. We'll continue to monitor and work with the health department to make sure that cases are not spreading, that we have a safe school community when we are in person. But right now, that's the plan I supported, and I think it's the best plan for our community at this time.
Thank you. Ms. Frank?
Thanks so much. I hear a lot about the hybrid, and I think that so many people in our community, so many people out there feel like the hybrid is the best option. It sounds like it's the best of both worlds, but I just wanted to speak to that. We are coming back face-to-face next week as a district, and the reality is a hybrid, you only get 50% of the content when you go into a hybrid model, because your teachers are only able to teach the live students, and then the students that are at home are not getting that quality education. So you're either choosing the home or the school students. And so I think that while so many people in our community have advocated for hybrid, I don't think that we understand the full complexities of a hybrid model. And so I do believe, again, that face-to-face is the best for students, because they already have such a huge gap from the spring of what they missed, to be able to catch students up, to be able to have them interact with their peers and learn and grow from peers and in person. Part of growing up and part of preparing students is teaching them how to get along.
Ms. Bradford?
Thank you. Boy, when this whole thing started, there was a myriad of different ways that we could have sent our kids back to school. I like that our district gave choices and options just to do that. If you felt comfortable in the all virtual, then all virtual was your choice. If you felt comfortable going back face-to-face at some point, then was your choice also. We chose to start with a Safe Start September, which I think was a great avenue to begin with, because that gave a chance for our teachers to come in, get settled into the classroom. Ultimately, we are starting face-to-face this week. It was a terrible, challenging decision. It was a hard decision, But I felt we really needed to get our kids back into school after missing over 200 days. There's a lot of catching up to do, and we need to get them back on track. So I believe face-to-face is the best option right now. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Acosta?
I don't think that we will find anyone that says that having that face-to-face instruction with a teacher is not the ideal. I think we all can agree that teachers do their best in person in having that classroom environment. What I would say is that the turnaround time between the decision that was made by the board and the time to implement that in-classroom face-to-face instruction needed to be probably considered a little bit longer. Being in the classroom and having that switch turn from one day to the next is a little challenging. So I think that having had that virtual time as a Safe Start September gave this false sense of confidence in the sense that teachers have been doing this, but it was a big change and shift in the way the instruction is being provided that I think teachers would have enjoyed a little bit more planning time for.
Thank you. Ms. Hoskins-Goudreau?
I think the best option is the one that keeps the entire school community as safe as possible. I think the way that we determine that is based on levels of community transmission and recommendations from local health officials with feedback from all the stakeholders involved. But I also believe it's very important that each family have the ability to make the decision that's best for their own family. There's a lot of parents who work in essential industries who don't have the option of all-day childcare for school-age children, and so having the option for them to have their kids in school face-to-face is very important, and for those families for whom virtual is a better option, having that option available as well is really important.
Thank you. Ms. Bonifield?
Thank you. I think that face-to-face education is the best thing that we can do for our kids. Again, we need to have options. Not everybody is comfortable with coming back into the buildings. Some people are very comfortable coming back into the buildings, but I think we also need to consider all of our learners and how they learn. Some kids can learn virtually. Some students need that face-to-face contact. They don't do well with the screen time. I have 2 children, and one would have done very well and the other would not have. I think we also need to remember that we're serving a lot of different kids in our community, and not every child in the community has that support that they need to be able to do the virtual learning, and really need to be taken care of and given that attention and able to focus on the learning. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start this next question with Ms. Frank first. Considering that so much instruction is being conducted remotely right now, what measures should be implemented to ensure that each child has adequate access to and instruction in using technology at home, especially for low-income families and special needs students?
That's a great question, and I'm so proud of what our district has done for this. We reached out to every single student, either their teachers, if their teachers didn't hear back from the students or the family, then the principal got involved and reached out to students and families and just assessed where everybody was, where their needs were, any families who didn't have access. And what we did was we partnered with local businesses and our Livonia Foundation to get hotspots for those families. So I think it's really important to know your students, to know your district, and to know where the needs are. And then we were able to provide them with hotspots, and we were able to provide them with Chromebooks from the district to be able to have that access. And so I think that that was such an important piece, an important role for us to be able to partner with businesses who were so happy and willing to actually do that for them. And some of our staff went out to their houses to make sure it got connected right. Some of them were just delivered, but some of our staff were actually in homes to make sure that they had access.
Thank you. Ms. Bradford?
Yes, I think our district did a great job in assessing the needs of where each student, if a student needed a device or not. We also I think did a great job. Unfortunately, our district doesn't have a one-to-one technology. We're working on that. In fact, last night we are approving some younger pieces of computer equipment for K1. We're going to be doing that soon, approving that so that all students will have some type of devices at hand. But we did give out devices to all students who needed it. If you had your own device at home, you could use that. If you did not, the district did make sure that you could get one. In fact, I think some families got more than one if they needed them. So we did our very best to get, we also purchased additional hotspots around the community for those families in need.
Thank you. Ms. Acosta?
I believe the technology piece has been addressed. I think the district did a pretty big and did a good job in terms of the outreach, inquiring if families had technology. But I think access goes beyond just having the physical Chromebook or the Wi-Fi. But having access to me means that there's an adult there or someone there to help a student actually access the instruction that's being delivered virtually. And I think that's something that we need to look further into. I know that there are students that have the technology, right, but don't have that additional support just because families are working to have that literal access to instruction.
Thank you. Ms. Hoskins-Goudreau?
Yes, I think administration at the school level did do, as far as I could tell, a very good job in determining who will access to electronic assets and then making those assets available to families, and also determining needs as they relate to access to the technology, to Wi-Fi. I'm not so sure about needs relative to training, though, on the learning management systems or the applications being used to actually conduct the instruction. And so some additional supportive measures might have been helpful there.
Thank you. Ms. Bonifield?
Thank you. I do agree that there was some additional training that we could have done, but in light of the speed at which we had to go and the requirements that we needed to fulfill, and the first of all, we had to take our training in priority, and we are continuing to train our teachers. We're continuing to work with them on technology, on working on a block schedule, and taking all that into consideration. So the district will continue to work with all of their staff to continually educate them. And one of the things that the teachers and the staff can do is let us know what they need to be trained on and where the holes are, so we can meet those needs of the teachers.
Thank you. Mr. Centers?
Yeah, if you think back to last spring, it seems like forever ago, but originally we thought we'd only be out for a couple of weeks. And then we thought, well, maybe a couple of weeks more, but then it became clear that we were going to be out all spring, and we and everyone else in the state were just not prepared for that. We did what we could last minute. We made sure families got devices. We did what we could as far as programming goes, but we weren't satisfied with that. That's why over the summer we really put a lot of effort into looking to improve that over the course of the summer, so that we came back strong in the fall. And my feedback that I've received over and over is that it's a much improved product. So, given the circumstances, I'm proud of the work that everyone did to get that accomplished.
Thank you. We'll start this next question with Ms. Bradford. How do you plan to support students of color and other minority and marginalized student groups with their specific needs and address racism, bigotry, and bullying?
I think we know that we have changing demographics in our district, and I know that we're working on, one of the ways we're working on that is we've developed an equity and education committee to address some of the needs that we need with our students. I think we have to remember and understand, we have to have a firm understanding of our own biases and figure out what we need to do to change and get all kids. All kids need to have equal access to a great education. We have challenges. I think we need to learn about where our needs are, and we need to continue to develop mutual self-respect and understanding all races, religious, ethnic group. It is an area that I think we can definitely be working on as we move through these next few years in the district.
Thank you. Ms. Acosta?
I think that part of what we can look at, because I think that change happens from the top down, right? So looking at hiring practices, what are we doing as a district to really look at what we're doing to engage diverse populations and bring them into these conversations, not just in terms of hiring, but really these conversations. We do have communities, groups, organizations already within Livonia that are looking to spearhead some engagement and conversations surrounding how to be more diverse in our thinking and also in our actions. And so I would look to see, I know that the PTA, the council has put out a diversity and inclusion initiative, and they are moving forward. There are webinars that are taking place. I'm not sure if that is open to the public or how many people are even aware that it's taking place, but that's a great starting point.
Thank you. Ms. Hoskins-Goudreau?
I think we're taking some very positive steps in the right direction with acknowledging that there's work that we could be doing. Some of the areas that I would seek to recommend as support would be, for professional development for all of our staff that includes unconscious bias training and talks about the impact that our biases have on, students of all students, including students of color, but also talking about allyship and training our student community on what it means to be an ally, and then also representation of diverse perspectives throughout all levels of leadership within the district, I think is also important. I also think something that we really need to focus on is closing the achievement gaps between students of color and other students, and really researching and determining why there are levels of there are differing levels of performance among different groups of students.
Thank you. Ms. Bonifield?
Thank you. I agree that we need to work on diversity, and we've started that conversation. It's not a new conversation. It has become a stronger conversation that we've been having. And I think we work toward equality for all of our students. One of the difficult things that we have is with the budget cuts. We have lost so much of our support and so many of our interventionists, and so much of what we learn about poverty and other demographics is that there's a lot of outside forces that the kids are concerned about when they come to school. It's really, really hard to learn if you're hungry or you're worried about not having a winter coat. And I think not having those interventionists to help those students feel that they're safe and warm, and they don't have all of these external and we can help them to resolve some of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Centers?
Sure. A number of my fellow board members have already mentioned some of the stuff I was. Hiring is obviously important, training. Our district is doing a program with RISA that it's a small group of individuals now. It's called the SEED program that'll eventually be pushed off to more individuals. But this takes more than just district leadership, and that's why I was excited that PTSA has taken this on as an initiative. It really does take a whole community to engage on this issue to make meaningful progress. So I'm looking forward to continuing this and working with PTSA and other stakeholders to improve diversity in our district.
Thank you. And Ms. Frank?
Thanks so much. I really do think we need to be able to engage in these courageous conversations. I think it's vital as a district as large as ours to be able to have these tough conversations and to really get down to the heart of the matter. We did last year the America to Me series, which was a movie about underrepresented students and how that affects education in America, and really had some hard conversations with staff from across the district. And I think those conversations need to continue. We did have professional development from Wayne Risa come in and work with our staff. And I think it does start with the board. The Board of Education, in terms of, some of us went to a seminar last year. How do we make policy? Because really that's the role of the Board of Education, is to set policy that enables diverse students to flourish and to set priorities, not just say the words, but also to put money behind it. We just implemented and hired somebody to really do some deep data dives into our test scores. Why are we having students of color, students who are challenged? Why are their scores different?
Thank you. Ms. Acosta, we'll start this next question with you. What will you do to ensure that electives, AP classes, academic opportunities, arts, music, and extracurriculars are available equally to students across our district?
And that's a tough question, right? So I think just making sure, I know that there are certain schools that offer certain programs and students are moving. For instance, a student that was supposed to be at Stevenson moved to Franklin, or moving to Churchill for the different programs. Looking at the funding sources and seeing why we can't share these programs so students don't have to leave their friends in order to engage in these programs.
Thank you. Ms. Hoskins-Goudreau?
I think I would agree, looking at funding and determining whether, first of all, why is it that a student could leave one school and not have the same opportunities at that school, at a different school? And is that a funding issue? And if it is that something that I could address as a member of the board? I think that would be the first step in determining whether we're able to continue to offer electives and APs and things like that. We should be offering them to all students who are qualified to participate, and not just in one school or another.
Thank you. Ms. Bonifield?
Students in our district are all given the opportunity to participate in our magnet programs, to participate in AP classes, the International Baccalaureate. If you're talking about the magnet programs, they're very expensive to run. So to replicate in 3 different buildings would not be cost effective. We have a lot of really great programs that we can be very proud of, a lot of varied programs. Yes, they are in different buildings, and not every building is exactly the same. They all have their own flavor and their own pride, and they all have their own personalities. And in order to be able to provide those programs, sometimes the students are going to have to leave their building. The same like with the Career and Technical Center. That's a building to itself. So if they want to take advantage of those programs, they are more than welcome to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Centers?
Sure. Let me use performing arts as an example. If you want to take performing arts, you can do it at any of your high schools. But if you want to do an intense performing arts 4-year program, which uses up a lot of your electives, well, there's a number of kids that are willing to do that, but it's not a huge number of students. There's enough to basically run one program, and that's why we run it out of Churchill. So we, as much as we'd love to have every school have every opportunity, there are advantages to this too. You get kids who bring, different perspectives all across the district. They meet new people, and while we would like people to stay in their home schools, it provides different opportunities for them to go to other schools and meet other students and engage that way.
Thank you. Ms. Frank?
Thanks so much. I'm so proud of our district in terms of being able to offer specialized programs at each one of our high schools and several of our other schools. Franklin has the International Baccalaureate program. Churchill has the Kappa program, as well as the MACAT program, or the MSc program, excuse me. Frost has the MSc program, and Stevenson has the global education program that none of the other high schools have. So each one has a little bit of a different program. But our board right now has been able to increase programming. And I think that is a huge priority for the district. You have to align your budget to match what your priorities are. And I'm so thankful that we've been able to increase programming and not decrease it. And I think that that is an amazing thing in times when school budgets are being cut and schools are being forced to cut, that we have been able to offer programming AP classes at every single high school, differentiated teaching at every single high school. And in some of our grade schools have different programs, as well as our middle schools. And I think that it says a lot about our district and our priorities.
Thank you. Ms. Bradford.
Thank you. I don't see this as a real problem issue. We have a very large district, again, 14,000 students, and we have the opportunity. We have one of the best choices in programming, I believe, throughout the state. We have a Japanese immersion school, if you want to do that. We have a freestanding first through sixth grade gifted program. You can go there. That leads right into Frost's MACAT program, which leads into a multitude of different variety of programming at the high school level. I don't see it as an issue, because we're all one district. And I think once you go to your building, once you find that niche that you want to be in, you go to that spot and that's where you flourish. So we wouldn't be able to service all those programs at 3 different high schools or 3 different middle schools. We do offer, as Ms. Frank said, AP classes at all school levels.
Thank you.
And other programs. Thanks.
Thanks. Ms. Hoskins-Goudreau, we'll start this next one with you. There have been criticisms leveled at the school district because of a shortage of school nurses, custodians, and counselors. Do you agree with these criticisms? And if so, how can we rectify these staff shortages?
I think if we have issues with staff shortages, we have to look at what's causing the shortage. Is it a workplace culture issue? Is it a funding issue? What's the root cause? So I'd like to understand what the root cause is of our lack of janitorial staff, nursing staff, counseling staff, and then determine how we can fix that relative to the issue once it's identified. So without a little bit more information, I'm not sure that I can agree with that, but I am interested to learn what the root cause of that is.
Thank you. Ms. Bonifield?
I agree that we have shortages. We have shortages because of the budget cuts. Several years ago, we were given a $400 mid-year cut. We have not since regained those dollars in our budget. We've been working on hiring some more. We just hired 30 new teachers to help us out with the COVID. We hire as many people as we are able to, but there is a funding issue. And one of my big pet projects is the interventionists and the counselors, because we need those. The teachers need it. We don't have parapros in our district, enough parapros in our district. And if we work with our legislature to increase funding to the schools so that we can do more for our kids and not just an ABC education, but be able to provide them some of the other resources that they really, really need. And then
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Centers?
Sure. So I think each one of those has kind of got different reasons for it. You know, as far as counselors goes, Michigan has terrible counselor ratios. We're, if not last in the country, we're very close to it. And that has to do with us underfunding schools by at least $1,000 a student, because districts have to make choices of putting teachers in front of the students, and any set kinds of support staff tend to be pieces that add on as the budget, you know, as we get budget relief. Actually, when it comes to some of these other things, there is a shortage of custodians and mechanics and bus drivers, but actually from what I've understood, Livonia is not as bad as other districts in these shortage areas because we have not privatized. Those are still LPS employees. I'm very proud of that. A lot of those people live and work in this community. And because of that, it's my understanding talking to other districts, that our district is not quite as needy in those categories.
Thank you. Ms. Frank?
Yes, thank you so much. Again, I'm proud to work on a board who has prioritized putting people back, bringing people back in terms of, we have invested more in social emotional support, counselors, social workers. With our millage that passed, we have invested more. We've been able to hire more. We've been able to do a lot of things because the district has been wise and because the district has been a good financial steward. We've been able to put more social workers, elementary support teachers back in the buildings, and to be able to give buildings more support than they have had previously. So I'm really proud of that. And I'm proud of what we've done in terms of being able to have behavior interventionists in the classroom, and to be able to put parapros back in the kindergarten classroom, not all the time, but for some periods of time. And so I think it's been very important that this board has seen that and has made steps to rectify it.
Thank you. Ms. Bradford?
Yes, this is definitely, hold on, am I on? Yeah.
Yes.
This is definitely a need in our community. Again, seriously, our budgeting is something that we look at. We have been focused on keeping our class sizes small, keeping our teachings going. But again, we've had some additional, we've been able to hire some additional literacy coaches, support staff to help us out. Yes, what I would love to see is nursing staff in our district. That would be a great thing for us to take a look at if we are able to fiscally hire some, especially with what we're dealing with right now. It would be great to have some medical staff on board. It's something that I know we need to take a look at, and we always do. But again, we have to prioritize things, and budgets and cut funding is a real issue and a challenge.
Thank you. Ms. Acosta?
Yes, during this current pandemic, considering the demands on teachers and staff to maintain a safe, clean, disinfected, sanitized classrooms and spaces, I think it is concerning to have shortages in the areas of specifically custodial staff, support staff, including especially our counselors in this time when our students are needing most of our social emotional support. So I would like to have a better understanding of why these needs are, what they are, because addressing those would be a top priority.
Thank you. Ms. Bonifield, we'll start this next question with you. What steps can the school district take to increase the diversity of our teaching staff?
I think there are a couple of things that we can do. One, we need to remember that Livonia Public Schools is an equal opportunity employer, and we are bound by federal regulations on non-discrimination. Another thing that we do is, personally for me, I feel that under the current circumstances and some of the other discussions that we've had, that we need to work on making our community friendly and make our community out as a whole, as an outreach, to make it a better place to work. When we have billboards on our expressways that tell people that they're going to be pulled over, or there's going to be consequences for them to drive. If I was a teacher, why would I want to come and work in Livonia Public Schools if my community doesn't even believe that we're appropriate, that we are working toward that?
Thank you. Mr. Centers?
Sure. I think making it a priority, this is something that we as a board have not specifically put policy or structure behind, and it may be time that we do something like that. Then another thing is, our personnel folks do go around the area and they go to job fairs, but I don't know if they're necessarily going to communities that are higher minority populations or schools that are higher minority populations, specifically recruiting in areas and looking for quality students who happen to be people of color. So we have made some really fantastic hires, people who are people of color who are culturally diverse. But we have a lot of work to do, and I think everyone acknowledges that.
Thank you. Ms. Frank?
Thanks so much. Yes, we have a lot of work to do, and we need to be able to make sure that we are involved in the discussion and that we are involved in the direction of the district. The school board is an oversight of the district, and so we absolutely need to be setting those priorities and setting those policies so that we can be reflective of the community that we serve. And so I think that it's a very important thing. I think that we are growing in there in this capacity, and I think that the board has taken it seriously in terms of learning more and growing. And I think that we've all learned and grown in these past 6 months. And I think, well, overall, but especially in these past 6 months, to really reflect on where we are and what we're driving in the future. And so I think that it's really important that we continue to grow and continue to prioritize having our staff and our administration reflect the students that we serve.
Thank you. Ms. Bradford?
Yes, I do believe this is an area that we could use more work on. We do have changing demographics in our city, lots of diverse people. So our staff should reflect the diversity with which we serve our students. I think that's something that we can take a look at, and I believe that we will, and that we can do better in this area.
Thank you. Ms. Acosta?
Well, I believe that the first step in the right direction is the fact that we see all of these faces here on this forum, right? So diversity begins with us. I think that identifying that the lack of diversity and prioritizing that in terms of our actionable items. So looking at hiring practices, also providing the diversity training so that the environments that these new recruits come into is safe, welcome environment to maintain the staff that comes in. So I think not just in changing our messaging, but our actions need to change that message.
Thank you. Ms. Hoskins-Goudreau?
Thank you. So I believe what is measured is valued, and to attract and retain high quality teachers with diverse backgrounds, the district needs a strategic recruitment strategy that includes a commitment to finding the best qualified teachers, but we need to be casting a wide net to ensure that we're getting the greatest possible candidate pool. And that plan needs to include metrics that are measuring these outcomes to ensure that we're encouraging representation at the level of the community that we serve. Keeping in mind that once we've hired teachers with diverse backgrounds, it's necessary to ensure that our environments where the teachers are working are inclusive and offer them the opportunity to really make full and complete contributions to the school community. Saying that we're an equal opportunity employer is great, but are we actually demonstrating that we are an equal opportunity employer? Meaning, are we demonstrating that we're an inclusive workplace, or are we just, saying the words?
Thank you. Mr. Centers, we'll start this next question with you. What is your experience with special education services, and how will you support the special education programs within the Livonia Public School District?
Sure. As a classroom teacher, I did not work as a special education teacher, but I was an elementary teacher, and I had a number of special education students in all of my classrooms. So, we have, all of our students have individual education plans, and it's up to us to hold our leadership accountable that we're doing everything we can that each individual education plan is met, and that special education is a priority in our district. We host a number of county programs in our district. It's something we're extremely proud of. We have programs where students go into the community and get job training for later in life, their post K-12 schooling. We do a lot of support for our special education students, and it's something that I'm extremely proud of.
Thank you. Ms. Frank, yes.
Okay, sorry, my computer kicked out. Thank you for actually asking that question. I think this is a vital question for our district, and I don't think we talk enough about special education. We have one of the best special education programs in the state, and it is well recognized. We have several different programs that are county programs that are housed here in Livonia Public Schools, and they are outstanding programs. Programs for students with autism, programs for students who have severe or not moderate to cognitively disabled. And so we have many different programs here at the district throughout the K through 12 program. And we utilize those students as they get into middle school to do a coffee cart for the staff, to do different things. So we utilize our students, we teach them, we train them, but we also utilize them for life. We teach them how to learn skills that they can utilize for their lifetime. And so I think it's very important that we highlight what we're doing in special education. And I cannot go into it for 60 seconds, all the things that we are doing in Livonia Public Schools. But our director of special services, their student services, is phenomenal.
Thank you. Ms. Bradford?
I'm going to continue on that path. If you've ever been to a Garfield Community School graduation, I tell you, it's one of the most endearing and most wonderful events to go to. We have a great special ed program in this district, starting with starting down in pre-K all the way to age 26, MOCI, visually impaired. I worked at Webster School, and what a great program they have are running, both with the gifted and the special needs schools. Those kids interact with each other. They learn about their differences and how to we're all unique students and we're all unique people. So we have one of the best in the district. I think we'll just continue keeping it going and doing the best we can to service those kids to the best of our ability. Very proud of our program here in Livonia Public Schools.
Thank you. Ms. Acosta?
Thank you. I think that it is wonderful that we do have these center-based programs. I think my concern would be more in the support that the students that are pushed into general education buildings where those center-based programs aren't at, that they receive the support services that they need in order to be able to succeed with their general education peers. So oftentimes the staff that is assigned is just not equipped with all the resources that they need, and also their time is being split. So just making sure that we do have all the additional support for students that are outside of the center-based programs.
Thank you. Ms. Hoskins-Goudreau?
Thank you. So if I look at graduation data for our district from 2019, students with disabilities graduated at a rate of about 66%, which is on par with the national average. So if that's the bar by which we're measuring whether or not we're doing an excellent job, I think that's reasonable. But my question would be, are we able to do more with the resources that we have available? Some very high performing districts with regard to special education where they've been able to increase graduation rates for students with disabilities look from the perspective of special ed students are just general ed students with additional support. And I'd be interested to know what exactly is our perspective on that. How are we measuring our success as it relates to other special education programs around the country and also in the state? And if there's more that we could be doing, then I'd be interested in exploring our options to do more. Thank
you. Ms. Bonifield?
Yes, thank you. First, I want to say that, we've talked a lot about from top down, and Dr. Gentariel is the most amazing person that you will find that directs our special education. She goes far, far above and beyond to make sure that all of our kids' needs are met. We also have to remember that legally, the kids have to be in the least restrictive program available to them. So there are a lot of very finite regulations that we have to follow with our special education kids. They are a part of our district in relation to graduation rates. Some of our kids are highly impaired and be able to get a diploma. The other thing is they're just amazing kids. So
thank you. We'll have one more question before we get on with our closing statements, and we'll start it with Ms. Frank. What is your position on charter schools, and what impact do you think they've had on Livonia Public School District?
Thanks. I believe that we have looked at that data, and it has had a very small impact on Livonia Public Schools. We do not lose typically our students to charter schools. However, this year may be different, and I have not seen the data in terms of how many students we've lost to charter schools because of them going back face to face and us starting the Safe Start September. So I've not seen that data to see what those numbers are. But I think charter schools are very different from public schools. They don't educate the same student, if you will. Public education will always educate most of our future. The next generation will be mostly educated by the public schools. We educate everyone. And I think it's very, excuse me, important to say that when you compare charter schools to public schools, they're not apples to apples. They are very different because of the fact that you can choose to go to a charter school where we are sometimes serving kids that have not had dinner last night, have not had breakfast this morning. And so we get a large diversity of kids that we just—
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Bradford?
Thank you. We don't have a large amount of charter schools in this area. I don't know how many students we've lost to the charters. However, I am not a fan of charter programs, mainly based on the financial aspect that they get to take public dollars away from our schools. So they take dollars away from us, and so that is something that I'm not in favor of. We all get to choose how we want to educate our students, whether you want to homeschool, do private or run a charter, but I think public schools is by far the best way to educate a student. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Acosta?
I did spend some time working at a charter school, as I had mentioned earlier, I believe. And I believe that in communities, they offer an option that some parents are looking for, that maybe the public school system they believe is not catering to them in some way. And so that's why we see charter schools popping up. I believe that they do compete with the public funding that public schools receive. And so it is, we should look at it not necessarily as a threat, but a way, an area to improve, looking at what is it that they're looking to offer that our families would consider it as an option for them, and look into ways to mitigate that. But again, I know that it is an option for parents, and parents can choose how they want to educate their students.
Thank you. Ms. Hoskins-Goudreau?
I am myself a product of public education. I support public education, and I think that while there's definitely charter schools play a role, I am concerned about the diluted funding diluted funding toward public schools is definitely a concern. So I understand why that's an issue, but I also think that what public schools offer in terms of oversight, accreditation, expectations in terms of professionalism of the staff and things like that, that generally offers a better option for families, because there have been studies that have suggested inadequacy of professional teachers who are not well trained. So I think there's issues there that public school education can address.
Thank you. Ms. Bonifield?
I believe that not every student needs to be educated differently. I feel strongly that public education is the base that we need. My problem with charter schools is that we are compared to them on a test score basis. However, they do not have to hire teachers that are part of the retirement program. That's 28.3 cents per dollar, and I don't have, unfortunately, the amount in front of me, but it winds up with between MIPSers and busing, they have over $1,000 more to work with. They don't have the special education needs, have to fill the public special education needs, which are very expensive. If you can cater to top-notch kids and have high scores and be able to work with that and then try and compare that to, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Centers?
So I believe that the number one driver of a school should always be educating the kids and not being concerned about their profits. And that we have the wild, wild west of charters here in Michigan. There's no cap on charters. You've seen them pop up to make a profit, then close soon after. They do not have the accountability because they're run by private management companies that are not subject to FOIA. So we have some major issues here in Michigan with charters. That's why I'm on a public school board, because I think we do amazing work. We're transparent. We serve all kids. And so in the meantime, I would encourage people to put their kids in Livonia Public Schools.
Thank you. We got through 9 questions. That's not bad. Ms. Bonifield, we're going to start our closing statements with you. If you could give us your 1-minute summation.
I can. Sorry, I didn't mute myself the last time. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and the members of the audience that have tuned in to watch us. This has been a great opportunity for me to express my in-depth experience and my commitment to public education. Whether or not you currently have children in the district, public education affects everyone. Having an outstanding school system directly impacts our lives and our community. Staying relevant and competitive while maintaining a balanced budget is paramount. Advocating for adequate funding is a daily pursuit. We must continue to fight for our children and their right to an education that they deserve. I'm about public education and have faith that Livonia Public Schools will work to maintain its high standards. I will work to continue moving our district into the future and to maintain excellence that our residents have come to expect. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Centers?
Well, thank you everyone for your time tonight, and thank you for everyone who took the time to listen. We are going through challenging times as a district. This is going to be a bumpy road, and I would be honored for the opportunity to serve as another term. I think that I'm someone that always puts the work in. I haven't missed a vote. Passionate, and always think about the kids, think from a teacher's perspective, having done that before. So again, I'd be honored to have your vote and your support, and thank you all again for being here this evening.
Thank you. Ms. Frank?
Thank you. Thank you for entrusting me with the leadership of Livonia Public Schools. It has been a tremendous privilege to serve on the Board of Education. I'm so proud of our students and our staff, yet still acknowledging that we have work to do. And I think in all of this conversation and all of these discussion and questions tonight, I do think that we are a tremendous school district, but we have work to do. And I don't think any of our administration will deny that. We still have work to do. And I would like to be part of that solution of working to make Livonia Public Schools the best educational choice for every family in Livonia. I think I have a unique voice with 4 kids in the district to represent a deep knowledge of the daily issues facing our district. I can use this to provide wisdom and insight to board decisions and discussions. I heard a quote from Carol Ann Tomlinson that said, "Excellence in education is when we do everything we can to make sure they can become everything they can." And I think that's the role of the Board of Education, to work hard to make sure the kids become everything they can.
Thank you. Ms. Bradford?
Got it. Sorry about that. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. Education and strong schools builds and enhances strong communities. Livonia Public Schools needs a strong, experienced board, one that can make difficult decisions affecting the future of this district. This board needs committed members who will listen, are open-minded, and will work diligently, respectfully, and collaboratively. I have all those qualities, and I have utilized them to the best of my ability in my service as a trustee for the past 4 years. I'm not perfect, no one is, but I work hard and understand that I have a duty and commitment to make sure that our students entrusted to us receive the best educational opportunities and experiences. The effective leadership I have shown continue to make me a strong candidate. I hope you will support me as one of your candidates for the Livonia Public School Board on Tuesday, November 3rd. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Acosta?
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing this forum and everyone that's tuned in tonight or when this airs. I am running for the Livonia School Board because I believe that representation matters. I'm a parent of 2 students in our district. I am currently being that change in the classroom as a long-term substitute teacher. I am also a PTSA president in this community where I've served for numerous years. And I have been a special education teacher, homeless, and community liaison. So advocacy is at the core of the things that I do every day. Sometimes it looks like just being an advocate in the classroom and being that person for a student. And sometimes it takes a broader perspective. I believe that I can be the voice of our community stakeholders as a parent, an educator, and students, and that all these voices should be represented at the decision-making table. Let me be your advocate and to have the opportunity to give back to the community that has given to us.
Thank you. And Ms. Hoskins-Goudreau?
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for putting together this event, and also thank you for everyone watching for your interest. I believe sincerely that the #1 factor in decision-making for members of a school board must be what is in the best interest of the children relying on them. The board has an awesome responsibility to each child to do what it can within the restrictions of its governing powers to provide the best educational experience possible using the resources available. As a member of the board, it would be my duty to remember that as my focus before taking any action, and also to remember that no student is any more or less valuable than another. Each and every one of them is special and wonderful and deserving of our best effort. I'm not a career teacher, but I respect teachers because I know how hard they work. I haven't always been able to volunteer in my classrooms, my kids' classrooms, but I'm very grateful to those room moms who were there when I couldn't be, because educating our kids is a collective effort and requires each and every one of us to do what we can. What I can do is bring my passion for academic excellence to this seat. I can bring a commitment to diversity and equity, my understanding of management and leadership, and channel all of that into a commitment to do what's best for each child, even when challenging or unpopular. Whatever the outcome on November 4th.
Thank you. The League of Women Voters thanks the candidates who are running for office and appreciates their commitment and willingness to serve as a Livonia School Board member. You are an impressive group of candidates. And thank you to the voters in the Livonia School District who are watching this forum to learn about their choices on November 3rd. All of these candidates here tonight participated in the League of Women Voters Voter Guide, a publication that you can access online by visiting vote411.org. By typing in your voting address, you can access all the races on your ballot, verify your voting registration status, and find your polling place. Again, that's vote411.org. The print copy of the voter guide is now available at the public libraries, even those libraries that have curbside pickup only. Just request it and they'll run it out to you in Livonia. Election Day is November 3rd. If you are not registered to vote, you can do so up through Election Day. Registration 10 days prior to Election Day must be done at the office of your city clerk. School board candidates are on the back side of the ballot, the nonpartisan section. Be sure to vote all the way down the ballot. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., but all registered voters can vote early by absentee ballot. Remember that you must first fill out and return an absentee ballot application to your city clerk before a ballot can be mailed or given to you. If you need an absentee ballot application, contact the city clerk. This concludes our forum this evening. Thank you, candidates, for participating, and good night.
Thank you so much, Paula and Maureen.
Thank you.
You did a
Thank
great
you.
job.
Yes, thank you. Night, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Good night.